This week on Africa Weekly, we go to the Central African Republic, where the country is battling its first cholera outbreak in 5 years. We meet a Nigerian surfer who's making waves with kids on the Lagos coastline. And we take a trip to Mauritius, where its horse racing tradition is as much a means for stability as a sport. But first, a summary of the stories that made the headlines this week.
To withdraw from the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court.
South Africa is to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. Reports of the move drawing sharp criticism from human rights bodies. The decision follows a dispute last year when South Africa allowed Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir to visit the country for an African Union summit, despite him facing an arrest warrant from the Hague-based tribunal. Tensions rising in Kinshasa. Protests gripped the Congolese capital over the president's plans to stay in power for more than a year. A national dialogue group signed an agreement to postpone this year's presidential vote until April 2018. The country's main opposition party immediately rejected the decision. Foreign-owned factories and farms have been targeted in Ethiopia's Oromia region, in a spate of violent protests against the government. The majority Oromo and Amhara ethnic groups are waging protests against a minority-led government. The violence has led to over 1,500 arrests since a state of emergency was declared 2 weeks ago. Al-Shabaab fighters launched a major attack on a key town near Mogadishu, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The group targeted a police post with a car packed full of explosives, retreating before African Union troops arrived. Several people, including civilians, were killed. Singer Akon is bringing his star power to schools. The African-American artist paid a visit to the Liberian capital, Monrovia, to endorse a plan to outsource oversight of the country's primary education system to a US firm, and even took time out to share his views on the US presidential candidate Donald Trump.
If Donald Trump was the president at that time, he would have deported me.
Threatened by a loss of habitat and hunting, Madagascar's critically endangered lemurs are finding refuge in a private sanctuary. The Nahampoana Game Reserve is hosting 150 of the wide-eyed critters. With fewer than 10,000 lemurs left on the island, conservation experts say there is dire need for funding to ensure their survival. The Central African Republic government has declared a cholera epidemic after several deaths from the disease. With the rising death toll, aid agencies have activated a crisis committee to try to stem the spread of the epidemic.
A cholera epidemic has spread to the outskirts of Bangui, the capital of the Central African Republic. Here on Monkey Island, 19 people have died from cholera, a preventable disease which is spread by dirty water. That's why aid agencies like Oxfam are trying to improve hygiene standards on the island.
We have deplored the sanitary conditions on the island for a while. Health inspections show they have no clean water to drink and that they take water from the river to drink. They don't have latrines. They don't have basic hygiene knowledge.
The outbreak of cholera started in Juku, a remote area around 100 kilometres up the river from the capital. As it has spread, concern has grown amongst health officials and aid agencies. 4 times a week, a medical team checks the health practices of people on Monkey Island.
Illness struck my home, my family, and that's why I'm helping others in the village to understand.
Justin's 8-year-old niece contracted cholera. She died just a few hours later.
I came home from church and my little one was in her room with diarrhea and vomiting. She went to hospital, but it was too late.
Already one of the poorest countries in the world, the Central African Republic is struggling to recover from a 2-year conflict that broke out in 2013. The bloodletting left thousands dead and hundreds of thousands homeless. Now authorities are fighting on a new front, hoping to combat the spread of cholera with basic sanitation.
With its oil tankers and polluted water, Lagos is an unlikely surfing paradise. But off the coast of Nigeria's megacity, it's the waves, not the surroundings, that count. At the mouth of the harbour, surfing enthusiast Godpower Peki Puma finds sanctuary in the sea.
Like 80% of Nigeria, they are scared of water. They are scared that mommy water or papi water will kill them, you know. But I'm advising them, or I'm giving them this opportunity for them to come because water will kill them. Water doesn't have any enemy, you know.
Godpower runs a surfing school to help youngsters lose their fear of the water.
Paddle, 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 stand up. Yeah.
He's trained up wave after wave of children who now dream of becoming surfing champions.
I like surfing because it gives me joy. I would like to practice all my life in Nigeria or go to competitions.
They really like surfing. I need to give them the support. I need to teach them, you know, so that they can represent Nigeria in the Olympics 2020.
But before they can get to the Olympics, they first need to buy a board. Not an easy feat for many of these youngsters.
The main point is, honestly, is the equipment, and make sure that it's self-sustainable, because there's no point in us getting the equipment donated or buying the equipment if we cannot buy it again in 6 months.
In a sign that surfing has caught on here, it's the subject of a new Nollywood movie. Tarkwa Bay isn't a surfing mecca just yet, but for some, these waters are at least a little more appealing.
On the island nation of Mauritius, horse racing is religion, and the Champ de Mars racecourse its temple. Since its creation in 1812, the racetrack has been bringing together all of the island's communities. And community cohesion was exactly what its founders had in mind.
L'île Maurice a été cédée aux Anglais en 1810.
Mauritius was surrendered to the British in 1810, and we think that during the first years quite a lot of effort was made to bring the English and French together on neutral ground to improve the country's mood.
Pour que l'ambiance, je pense, dans le pays soit meilleure.
2 centuries on, and Mauritians still haven't tired of it. Every Saturday, thousands flock to the track to watch and place their bets.
The betting's just for fun. Winning is good, but losing, that's good too.
It's happening now. It's live. I like watching horses run. It's really fun.
The Turf Club houses 12 stables and over 350 horses and holds 4 major races a year. Mauritian high society occupies the stands, while poorer spectators stand trackside for free.
It's one of the few places that you can find people from every sector of Mauritian society in one day. It's really a wonderful and unique place.
Mauritius has strengthened security throughout the country after a spate of terrorist threats earlier this year. In such a multi-religious and multicultural society, it needs traditions like this for stability as much as sport.
Africa Cup of Nations champions Ivory Coast will start next year's tournament against Togo, Morocco and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The announcement was made after a draw this week. Gabon will host the tournament next January, despite recent unrest in the country. Next week, we take you to Soweto, where the giants of South African football will face off in one of the continent's biggest derbies. With historic rivalries and electric passion among fans, the stakes are sure to be high on the pitch. That's all from us at Africa Weekly. Until next week.